Chris Reid, love talking about helping the MSP community. It's part of my life. Managed service provider. I was one. I'm still very much part of the community. They service their outsourced IT to the small and medium sized businesses. And when an MSP does well, their clients do well. And the small to medium businesses are the backbone to the world economy. So you know that there's a greater purpose happening there. Chris worked at a vendor called Enable. He had an MSP consulting firm. He left Enable and helped MSPs on board and with Enable. Then he went back to Enable. Now he's with this MSP process platform that helps MSPs in a few areas like user identity, verifying identity, and there's some other products that are lumped into it. It's really cool platform, and they keep expanding. They're part of the ConnectWise PitchIT program, which is an incubator program. I think there's 25 vendors. And we opened the conversation. He's a guitar player, and he's very humble and says he's not very good. I don't know how good he is, but I opened him with some great questions there. I like play a little bit. I know a few chords. That's about it. But he's a very, very well-rounded, really likable guy. Great conversation with Chris Reid. Thanks for listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre-diabetic, I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business that lasted over 25 years? Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission, how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family and their passion and their careers and how it helped them. Our podcast vision, growth through learning from others. Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration. So I will be having conversations with a lot of the coaches and the finalists from 2023 and, just kind of talking about them a little bit and their solution in some future podcasts. We want to make kind of an introduction to that as well.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, like I said, as the years progress, more people are getting involved, and then back to these vendors looking for a way to create a name for themselves with consistency. They need people like you, which is why I'm so thrilled that you're willing to work with me and work with us on this. So you're going to be you've graciously accepted to host these, and I appreciate that. Where you'll interview all our contestants. You're also going to interview last year's head coaches, last year's judges, last year's finalists. So you're doing all that. And I think it's important, for if you're a vendor and you're watching these, take note of this and how you get more involved. Watch the program. Watch what these men and women are all doing with us, because they're doing a lot. That's how you grow your business. If you're an MSP, watch these things. Get to know who people are and then inquire, because you're all looking to have stack alignment and you're all looking for credible and reputable businesses. We're vetting them out for you. We're putting them on display for you. Watch them, ask questions, find out, do your due diligence. Don't wait until IT Nation Connect to see you like at a booth and then buy 5 or 6 different technologies that you don't need.
So 2024 PitchIT, ConnectWise PitchIT. What's new and exciting about it?
Oh my Lord. So for those that have not followed any of this, I took over the PitchIT program 2 years ago, and we've had such great success, with like really great success. Went from, it's become one of the most predominant programs in the space now. Matter of fact, I was doing some research the other day, and about 5 or 6 other pitching things have spun off from mine and from ConnectWise PitchIT with other people that are running it. So it's great to see, because I think it's the thing about PitchIT is it's all about innovation. It's all about being daring and willing to do things, right? As an entrepreneur, entrepreneur, it's a scary situation. You have to be ignorantly optimistic, and you have to be willing to maybe fail a lot more than you'll succeed, and you have to have very thick skin, but you
Mm.
always have to be innovative and creative. So it's nice to see that this has spun off into other groups that have started doing it, because I think the hardest challenge for most startup vendors is getting their name out there, right? Getting people to know that they exist. And the reality of it is you can't just be there one time. You have to show consistency. You have to be in there for the long haul,
Mm.
for the partners to really be able for you to establish credibility, right? Because there's been plenty of fly-by-night businesses that have came out big and gone in 6 months. And for partners, their whole business is built around these vendors, these products. So they're making lifelong business decisions off of these.
Mm.
So it's great, it's exciting, but back to the program itself, it's jumped leaps and bounds. It went from being just a competition where they picked a few people, a few really good product companies to pitch at live at IT Nation Connect, to where we turn into an accelerated incubator program it's a season. It's literally a competitive season now at this point.
Mm.
And went from 5 or 7 or maybe even 10 vendors that are involved until they narrowed down to 3. To 2 years ago was 18. Last year was 26.
Wow.
And we had way more applications than that. That was just the ones that we thought were the best fit.
Hmm.
So yeah, we're getting ready, and we're getting ready to put out the press release in a couple of days, because then the application process will start February 1st. So I recommend anybody from around the entire globe to apply. We've had over just last year alone 6 different countries represented, between the U.S., Canada, to Israel, to Australia, to New Zealand, to the UK. They all involved in this competition.
Chris Reid, I'm very excited to talk to you, and thanks for your time today. What's your favorite chord to play on the guitar?
Oh, that's easy. It's got to be a G. Maybe second E minor. I love playing guitar. It's awesome.
I'm sorry, G to D minor?
Well, D minor is pretty good, but actually E minor maybe is the better choice.
Oh, G to E minor. Oh, interesting. Why that transition?
I just like how it sounds. Lots of songs use it. It's a good solid transition. It's good times. Yeah. Do you play guitar?
Well, I know 5-6 chords, and I would say G is my favorite. But I mean, I've I've been to an event recently, and there was a gentleman there playing guitar and singing, and he was great. And I got a chance to talk to him, and I said, I know. He asked me if I play guitar. I said I know 5 or 6 chords, and he says, well, hell, I only know 3. So. Right. I guess that happens. And are you playing them open, G open and E? Or are you barring them? How are you playing them open?
Play them open. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And it's more acoustic guitar or electric?
So I've gotten to the point where I have more guitars than I have talent. Yeah. That's for sure. I have a couple of electrics. I got a couple of acoustics. It's really nice to have different guitars around, but I can't say I play any of them particularly well.
Yeah, every time I walk past mine, Chris, they mock me. They say, "Why aren't you playing me? Why are your fingers soft? Why are they?" So, what kind of acoustics?
I've got a really nice one that's made out of spalted maple. It's an Ibanez. I've got a Martin at upstairs. That's a nice one too. Got a couple of good ones.
Yeah, those are very good.
Yeah, I've got a Gibson SG that I made in the basement. That one's one of my favorites. It's a nice electric. It's good time.
Wait a second. You made a Gibson SG? How? That's what Angus Young plays, right?
You're right. Exactly. That's why I wanted it, was because I was following Angus Young's steps.
AC/DC.
Yeah, I bought all the pieces separately. I picked out which humbuckers I wanted, which tuning pegs, all the different pieces. It's really cool. I did buy the body, so I can't say I carved it out of a piece of wood.
Okay.
But it was great.
I didn't know you could. They do that for cars too, where they have these old cars and they send you the pieces and you build it. I didn't know that you could do that for guitars.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Guitars are kind of fun from an electronics perspective. They're pretty basic. They have a couple of a couple of pots, couple of wires. It's fun to play with. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. And so, do you play in a band? Do you play with friends at all?
No, that would require me to have more skill and time than I actually have.
I don't either. So, do you read sheet music?
No, you know what? I started reading that actually during COVID. My wife and I decided to get a piano and started using that as a
Nice.
a bit of an outlet during COVID. I started learning how to read sheet music, but no, mostly for guitar, I read tablature.
Yeah, I can only read tablature as well. And when those chords get too complicated, Chris, I go to the next song. Especially some of the transitions.
Yes.
It's got to keep it simple. Do you have a favorite kind of music that you like to play?
Varies. I like a lot of a lot of punk, a lot of hard rock, but a lot of acoustic. Like Blue Rodeo, for example, is a great kind of country folk band. They play a lot of really good stuff. They're awesome.
I don't know Blue Rodeo. Is there a band or music that got you to playing?
Yeah, there's a band called Alice in Chains that when I was a teenager came out with one of those famous Unplugged albums, and that was really the thing that caught my eye for sure.
Yeah. I remember that Unplugged album from them. Yeah, because Nirvana did one around that time too. And Alice in Chains though was an electric guitar band.
Yeah, but they were their guitarist Jerry Cantrell, really talented, and all their stuff translated to acoustic very, very well. Yeah.
Like all good music should, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good. If it's a good song, it should translate. Yeah. Yeah. They're a grunge band from the 90s, part of that Seattle. Are they actually from Seattle?
Yes.
I thought they were, right? Because it's them, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, those were that really big movement. Alice in Chains it's just interesting that grunge got you into guitars. You're a little bit younger than me, Chris.
Maybe. I'm 44.
44. Yeah. So I'm just about 10 years older. So, I mean, it was the Beatles, I think, that got me involved. I just want to kind of sound, I loved it so much. I wanted to try to sound like them. Did you ever try writing your own song?
Yeah. And the problem I have is that my lyrics sound like a 13-year-old's lyrics, and I can't sing.
Chris, I'll let you in on some. There's a lot of lyrics that sound like 13-year-old lyrics out there. When you listen to what they're saying,
yeah.
But yeah, you got to keep trying, I guess. Do you understand musical theory? How things got to be in certain keys?
Yes. Yeah, that part makes sense.
See, I lose it then. Could you explain that simply to a novice like myself?
No, because it's not simple.
It's not simple, is it?
No.
It's not simple at all. Yeah. Yeah. How often do you play?
So, do you want the real answer or do you want my hopeful lifestyle answer?
Let's go both.
Let's go both. So the hopeful answer is I keep a guitar in the living room because actually one of my friends, he plays guitar. And we were over at their house one day just hanging out. And I was like, oh, you have your guitar up here? He's like, yeah, because if I put it away, I don't play it. And so this way, it's always like right at hand. There's no obstacle. I can play it for 5 minutes. And hey, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, it adds up, right? So I keep a guitar there. Now, you'd think that would lead to me playing more often, but it doesn't because I have 3 young kids. And by the time work finishes and dinner finishes and etc., and then they're in bed, well, then I can't play very well because it's got to be quiet time. So I play, I don't know, maybe once a week, maybe every 2 weeks, for example. Not nearly enough to really keep up my skills, unfortunately, but I try.
And what inspires you to start playing it?
I've been playing guitar since I was 14, 12, something like that. And so to me, I feel like it's part of my personality. It's like, I should be somebody who I play music. I should have this skill. I should maintain it. My fingers shouldn't be soft. It should be something that I do. Just like you like to read books, you like to talk about technology, you like whatever else it is you like. To me, playing guitar is a piece of me. And so I feel guilty if I don't get up to speed. Yeah, what about you? How often do you play?
Yeah, you're right though. Putting it in a place like that, I moved to a new place. I should put one of them I have in the living room because they're tucked in the bedroom. If I put one in the living room, I'll see it more and it'll force me to pick it up. I watched a quick video of somebody playing an old song from the 80s, and son of a gun, I think it was E minor and G. But and I saw how easy it was, and I said, "Oh man, I got it!" And I ran over and I started playing it. I started singing along, and I'm like, "Oh God, I miss this. I miss it."
Yeah, it's really nice, right? It's a good thing.
It is a good thing. Yeah. Yeah. When you had your MSP, did you bring your guitar to the office?
So I didn't actually ever have an MSP. My CEO, Patrick, he ran his own MSP called MyIT. I've worked for a long time in the MSP world, but I haven't actually had my own MSP. I did run an MSP consulting company for a while. And because I was out of my house, I guess technically I did have a guitar in the office.
Yeah. Yeah. And because I brought my guitar into the office at my MSP, and every once in a while I would take it out just to kind of reduce the stress, but I didn't want to. Yeah, it is the nice thing about a guitar is that you can hang it up on the wall. It's a nice, it's a nice, you can bring it around. It's extremely portable. Whereas like a piano, that sucker's staying where it is, right?
That's true. One of the things I missed actually couple of the companies I've worked for, other folks who play guitar or drums or whatever the case may be. And so you'd be able to get together because you knew them well enough. You could get together, play some music, play around, have a drink. It was a good time.
Yeah.
With COVID and with people working largely more remotely than they did before,
Mm.
I think there's some magic that's being missed where you just don't have that opportunity to work with your coworkers or hang out with your coworkers in that same sort of social setting.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. Oh God, music is the lubricant of life. I just can't imagine. Oh, there's some times where I just need it so desperately. So you spent some time at Enable,
I did. Yep.
and then was that before you were at the MSP?
So I did a couple things. I kind of went back and forth. Enable, as it grew, I started out fairly early on in their history. As they grew and became successful, I did at one point. I left because we had been acquired by SolarWinds at that point, which was a pretty exciting milestone to have reached. I did work at a couple different companies then. Had my own consulting firm. That was a really good time. Eventually, I actually came back to Enable because I really loved the MSP space. They had an opportunity for me that I just couldn't say no to. So I was actually at Enable for two tours of duty, as it were.
Huh.
Yeah.
What is it about the MSP community that you like working with so much? What do you like about it?
There's a couple things. I love the problem space. The types of problems that they need to have solved are interesting. I'm a technology guy myself. It's fascinating to me. And so just what people in the MSP market try to solve, the products they build, I find are interesting. They tickle my fancy. But what I think I like best about the MSP market is how open MSPs are to talking with vendors, to talking about the problems that they have, to building relationships with a vendor, because it pushes them ahead. It solves their problem. This isn't a closed off market. This isn't some highly secure market where you can't talk to the end user very easily. MSPs, it's a huge market. There's lots of opportunity. There's lots of different problems to solve. And that makes it really interesting for me as a product guy to get out there, talk to people, and figure out how best to bring something new to market or solve a new problem in the market that it's having.
What a unique perspective, Chris. You were at a vendor that works with MSPs. You were at an MSP. You went back to the vendor, and then you also had an MSP consulting company. You've seen all sides of the table. That's pretty cool.
It is. I've been in this space for, this is almost 20 years, 19 years now, basically, with different aspects, like you said, of seeing how they work, what they do. It's fascinating. Yep.
And what were you doing at the MSP consulting firm?
So in that case, I was offering boutique consulting services to Enable MSPs, people who are using Enable's RMM platform at the time. I would help them with setting it up, with best practices, with onboarding their text to it, customizing it to meet the business needs. That was a really fun time as well. Yeah.
What should vendors know about working with MSPs?
Couple of interesting things. That's a really great question. I think the best answer to give the primary one is you can't hide from customer feedback. There are lots of vendors in the space who, in any space really, I'm not just talking about the MSP space, there's lots of vendors in many different markets who they have a roadmap, this is the direction they're going in, and if a customer doesn't like what that direction is or doesn't meet their needs, that customer can go buy a product from somewhere else. I find in the MSP space, what really makes a company successful is you're listening very, very closely to your customers, understanding what their pain points are, and you're delivering, not just delivering product or bug fixes or whatever else you promised, you're also communicating that back to them so that you really have a relationship. To me, what MSPs are really hungry for is an honest, transparent, and helpful relationship with a vendor where, there's going to be bugs, or there's going to be problems, or there's going to be new things that need to get addressed and fixed or built. But if the communication is there, if the relationship is there, everyone's happy, everyone gets ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, transparency is so important with the MSPs. I end up working with a lot of vendors, and the ones that have been in the space, you have to kind of highlight those points, right? You got to be transparent. You're gonna have, I was gonna say a patch like CrowdStrike, but I mean, hopefully you'll get, it won't be as bad, but you still have to, when there's new vendors that are new to the MSP market, boy, it can be frustrating, Chris, they just don't understand that the MSP owns the client relationship and they're none of your damn business. These vendors that come in from the enterprise want to talk to the end and not the MSP. It's very frustrating to talk to them and get them over that hump.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen that personally back in the day when Intel was really pushing its vPro motherboard technology. They worked closely with Enable at the time and with other
That's
vendors as
right.
well. That's a great example of that kind of mindset, and why it didn't really in the end, I think, pan out the way that Intel wanted to over the course of kind of
Right.
4 or 5 years. You're absolutely right though. You got to have that mindset and understand what this market looks like, and that the MSPs are the gateway to those customers. But you're never really going to get to those customers directly. That's not the point. The point is to make the MSP happy, give them the solutions and the products that they need to service their customers.
That's really good point, Chris. That's right. I remember Intel vPro back then. They wanted to know who the customers were. Yeah, that's right. Because they were giving all kinds of bonus depending on how many there were, and your RMM would keep track of it, and they wanted the record of it. I forgot about that. Yeah, it's the MSP is your client, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, not their clients, and the small to medium businesses outsource everything to them. They want one throat to choke, and it's the MSP. So they don't care if it's Intel or anybody else. The MSP makes those decisions. It's a very big hump to get over.
It is. It is.
Do you
But
miss being on the vendor side? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, all good. I love being on the vendor side. Like right now with MSP Process,
Yeah,
we
with MSP
are an
process, you
MSP
are a big
vendor.
vendor.
It's
Yeah.
a great place to be. We're solving some really good problems. We have some really great customers. I love it. Love it.
So
Wouldn't imagine
so
being somewhere else.
you love it. You love it. Do you miss being an MSP?
So I was never actually an MSP. Our CEO Patrick was. He's got that
Mhm.
pedigree of having come from an MSP himself. I never actually worked at an MSP directly. I've always been
Ah,
in the vendor space basically for the MSP market.
and then MSP consulting, where you were working with them, right?
You
Right.
got it.
And when I talk to MSPs, for the last 3 years, it's been pretty much the same top 3 that keeps them up at night, and it's security. They're worried about their clients, clicking on an email and doing something. It's usually humans that let them in, right? That's generally what happens. Number 2 is human capital. How are they going to replace their big techs if they leave? And then third, how are they going to grow? With all this emergence of private equity and all this money into our community, it's changed a lot of MSP's perspective. I wonder how you started MSP Process, how it addresses those 3.
Good one. We really focus tightly on two pieces of what you mentioned actually. One is the security end of it, which I'll talk about in a second, and the other kind of secondary or ancillary benefit is vendor fatigue. So let's talk
Mm.
about security for a second. If you take a look back at how the MSP market has evolved, it takes more and more and more tooling nowadays to get the job done as an MSP. You don't just need a PSA. You don't just need a PSA plus an RMM. You need an EDR or MDR solution. You need a backup solution. You need M365. You need this and this and this and this and this. Right? There's lots of tools that you need to kind of get the job done, and that's okay. That's part of what this is that you get to choose the best vendors that suit your customers' needs. That's fine.
Mm.
We focus on the security end of things. One of the biggest problems we see today is that with the rise of AI and machine learning, there's a lot of great tooling out there for MSPs and for the world in general, but those same technologies can also be used maliciously. So
Mm.
you get into things like we've seen a huge increase in the MSP space or the IT space in general around AI voice spoofing. If I can take 20 seconds of your voice, Joe, from a podcast you've done, from a voicemail recording, from a YouTube, whatever video, whatever it may be, I can take your voice and with uncanny accuracy, I can make it say anything I want it to say. Like,
Wow.
hey, Chris, it's Joe. I'm on the road, but can you please reset my password and send it to my cell phone? It's this number. It's the bar of entry for somebody to
Jesus.
jump over to do something malicious like spoof somebody's identity is incredibly low. And so that's where we come into play. We help MSPs with verifying their end user's identity, and also the inverse of maybe verifying their technician's identity when they're calling an end user. I can talk a little bit more about that too. But our goal from a security perspective, what you mentioned, is really to help you make sure that the person you're talking to is in fact that person before you go ahead and make that change to their password, make a change to their security posture, whatever the request is that they're making.
So MSP Process is a platform. I assumed it was, a process, a kind of courseware, a kind of
Hmm.
instructions and tools.
Yeah, good point. We MSP Process, the name really comes about because we fall into your existing processes really seamlessly. A good
Ah.
example of that is that we integrate with your PSA directly. And so when you're looking at your ticket, for example, because everyone, as a technician, of course, you're always in your PSA. That's where you live. our capabilities of letting you verify your end user by email, by text message, by authenticator, by a variety of different methods, they're not in some separate UI that you've got to remember to go off and get into to facilitate taking care of those actions. They're right in the ticket. Couple clicks and you're done. So that's why we look at, we're part of your process. We are embedded in your processes really quite painlessly. Yeah.
So the process is verifying identity.
Yeah.
You also mentioned another way it's going to help in the human growth,
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So
human capital.
there are lots of different ways to do end user verification. We support email, SMS, like I said, Microsoft Authenticator or Duo. Any way you can get to that end customer to get them to verify their identity by reading a code or using biometrics on their phone, we support, and it's great. One of the things that we do that nobody else in the market does, this is actually something that we're working on a patent, it's patent pending right now, is technician verification. This is the notion that maybe, Joe, you're my customer, and somebody malicious pretends to work for me. They're pretending to work for my MSP, and they're calling you, and they're trying to get you to give them access to something, to get a foot in the door so that they can go ahead and get access to that environment and do something malicious in there, deploy ransomware or whatever they're trying to do. We are the only company in the market that lets the end user send a verification request to the technician, where the technician has to read back a code to the end user. If they work for you as the MSP, they can read back that code, no problem, because they have access to our platform. But if they don't have access to our platform, if they are somebody malicious, they can't read that code back. Your customer can say, oh, hold on a second here. I don't recognize you. I think we should end this call because this doesn't feel right. And that use case of somebody malicious calling your customer, pretending to work for you as the MSP, doesn't happen very often. But when it does happen, it is hugely impactful. And it's not just individuals doing this, script kiddies in the dark corner, people who are ticked off with you as an MSP maybe. I was talking to an MSP on an event we were at earlier this summer. He said his customer got bit by it. And the team of people who was facilitating this social engineering attack, they would share their video with the person they were calling. They had golf shirts on that had the MSP's logo on the golf shirt. And they would call a customer. And if the call failed, that's cool. They'd rip off the logo because it was just Velcroed on. They'd Velcro on the logo of the next MSP whose customers they were targeting, and then they'd call them. So this is a really kind of attack where it's not just a voice on the phone, it's video. The guy has the logo. He looks legit. It's crazy.
And Chris, there was a big casino in Las Vegas where the MSP, was it MGM?
Yes, sir. So MGM got bit by not having end user verification. That's how they got that. That's how the people who attacked MGM Grand got in. If they were using a product like ours to do end user verification, just send the person a simple code. Make sure that they can access their email or their phone or some other known good communication method to verify that they are who they say they are. That whole hack would have been stopped cold right in its tracks. Yeah,
that was millions of dollars.
Yes, sir. That was $100 million in consequences for MGM Grand. And then conversely, the more recently, that CDK automotive dealership platform that got breached, that cost in the States, the cost of dealers who used that platform over $1 billion in lost revenues. That attack to the CDK platform would have been stopped with that tech verification feature that I just mentioned that we have. Those are obviously huge numbers, huge, like the MGM Grand Casino is enormous. The CDK platform, an enormous company. But the same problems can exist in the MSP space. And if those guys get in, it's typically a business crippling, if not a business ending event. You're getting ransomware deployed, you're getting secure data stolen. The consequences are incredibly high.
Yeah, and it's not just keeping your data hostage. It's also, crippling them. And then once they have the data, what was the one? I think it was in Las Vegas again. They got some plastic surgeon office, and they contacted all the patients and said, we're going to release your pictures. It was incredible. It was like twofold.
Yeah. It's MSPs are a hot target for this kind of malicious actor, because if you can get into the MSP's environment, you get access to 20, 30, 40, 100, 500 small businesses. And to your point, it's much more impactful.
I just recently, I had to call the bank, or was it American Express? And they sent me a code, give me the code. And it went to my phone, and I thought that was pretty common. I'm trying to think now if I guess that's relatively new. How new is this whole technology?
Yeah, so We spent about 2 years building this before going to market. We came to market just in late Q3 of last year. So it's a pretty new capability for the MSP market. I mentioned earlier I wanted to talk about vendor fatigue.
Oh, yes.
I'll kind of touch on that for a second. So one of the problems we saw in the MSP space was this identity verification scenario, and we wanted to solve that. But the other problem that we saw was that a lot of MSPs use several big tools, like I talked about earlier. Here's your RMM, your PSA, here's your backup, here's your MDR or EDR. But then they've also got a collection of other tools their techs are using to get the job done. Password generators, authentication request tools, text messaging tools back and forth to more easily text with their customers, and maintaining those tools, understanding the security of it, understanding how to log that information back into their PSA so that auditing is in place. Those are real problems. Even just dealing with the relationships of having to talk to this vendor, talk to that vendor, handle this bill, handle that bill. It's an overhead, a tax on MSPs that is, it's not maybe the biggest problem that they're facing, but it is a pain point. It's a friction point. And so one of the things the MSP platform does, the reason it's a platform, not just a product, is in addition to things like end user verification and tech verification, we also handle things like securely sending your customers data, be that passwords, be that files. We also handle things like giving you really easy in PSA texting back and forth with your customers. We give you a really great client portal. We give you app bots to automate observing your tickets and taking actions on them. Goal there were 4 or 5 really, really clear problem spaces where these MSPs had separate tools that they were using to get the job done. Those tools weren't well integrated with the MSP's workflows, and they represented a source of vendor fatigue. I don't want to take care of talking to this next salesperson, this next account manager. I want just one thing. And so we saw this opportunity where we could be that platform for people. We could handle 4 or 5 or 6 different problems together, be that one vendor for them to work with, and give them a really great experience.
You mentioned a couple of solutions there. When you say, I like the SMS, the secure texting, is it goes right, so they do it from their workstation and it goes right to the client?
Yep. And the advantage there, everybody, of course, uses their phone. You've got your phone on you, I'm sure, by your desk right now. Mine is, I think, charging just over on my table. Everyone's on their phone all the time. Your customers, as an MSP, really want to be talked to on their phone because they've already got it in their hand. But MSPs typically don't want to talk to their customers over text messages for a couple of valid reasons. One is they don't want to give their technicians' cell phone numbers out to their customers. That's not cool. The other one is those conversations are on that technician's phone. And so if the tech goes home sick one day, the other guys who are covering his shift, they have a gap in their knowledge as to what happened. They don't know what was said back and forth. We solve both of those problems because we provide the phone number that gets used when the MSP is talking to the customer as a text message, and we log everything to your PSA. So it makes it easy. This way you can meet your customers where they live, which is on their phone. They get really good customer service. You have all the auditing and ease of use that you need because it's right in your PSA. Everybody wins.
Pretty cool solution. Are MSPs, generally speaking, overtooled?
Whoa, that's a really good point. No. I don't think they're overtooled. I think MSPs have such a huge and broad range of problems to solve day to day. They legitimately do need a wide range of tools to actually get the job done. I don't think they're overtooled. I think there are always new, this is how a good market works. There's always new problems that come up, and a vendor will come along and say, hey, I can solve that specific problem. And they go ahead and they build a product and they solve it. But then you get into having 3 or 4 or 5 of those individual tools, and somebody like us comes along and says, hey, we can do kind of the next generation of that and combine these things together because they make sense to us.
Yeah. Do you think many MSPs buy too many tools and don't end up using them all?
I do think that can be the case. Yes. I think MSPs get excited about certain things depending on where they are in their growth too. Like in a lot of cases, let's talk for a second about a brand new MSP. You're a week in, you got your first customer, you're excited, this is awesome. Woo! Do you need the RMM, the PSA, the backup, the EDR, this, that, and the other thing? Do you need all of those tools? Probably not at first, but as you grow, as your processes firm up, or maybe as you go after specific markets of customers, you absolutely need to bolt those things on. Yeah.
So you're in the ConnectWise PitchIT program, incubator program with 25 vendors, really cool program. How do you like it so far? What's your goal there?
It's been a great program for us. We're a little bit different from some of the other vendors who are in the PitchIT program this year, just because we've already gone to market, we've already got customers, we already have product market fit. In
Mm.
some cases, the folks in the PitchIT program, they're a little bit earlier in their sort of life cycle. They're still looking to refine product market fit, for example, or they've refined product market fit and now they're just starting to go to market, which is a really exciting time. And so, depending on where you are as a business, you get different things out of the PitchIT program. For us, because we're a little bit farther on down the road, maybe than some other folks, we found some things like how to do presentations, how to do sales pitches, some of the
Mm.
experience that people have had with that to be really, really, really valuable. Whereas things like how do you price your product, for example, we've already gone through. And so we felt pretty comfortable with that. But if I was maybe in a different company or we were in a different stage of our growth as a company, there's lots of good content in PitchIT that is really, really helpful. Yeah.
Hmm. Your first year in it?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty good. How many IT nations have you been to?
In my life or this year?
Yeah, in your life. I imagine with Enable you went to a lot.
Yeah, I've been to quite a few. They're always a good time. ConnectWise puts on a great show, and we love. Of course, we find it actually really beneficial to go there as a vendor. That's one really great way for us to talk to potential customers, understand what the problems are, see if there's a good fit between us and them. It's an incredibly great way to meet new prospects and to hopefully build a relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great program, and Sean Lardo does a great job over there, and I love talking to the vendors, and just serving this great MSP community is. I just find it exciting.
Me too. Yeah. Like I said, I love this market. There's always an interesting problem to solve. I kind of wake up in the morning and looking to see what emails came in, what are the problems we're going to solve today, and what can we do. It's fun.
What's coming down the road for your platform?
Mm. Um, Couple of things that are worth talking about for sure. One is I mentioned earlier how we let you do things like texting back and forth with your customers.
Yeah.
That's super cool. We see that capability though as being just the first step of how we can let you better communicate with your customers. For example, in South America or in the UK or in Europe in general, WhatsApp is the primary way people talk. They don't talk over text; they talk over WhatsApp. And so, or here in North America, a lot of folks use Microsoft Teams as their primary way of communicating. And so, for us, I think as a communications platform, one of the things we help you guys do as an MSP is communicate better with your customers.
Mm.
We see ourselves kind of broadening the scope of how we let you communicate easily from within your ticket. Maybe for this ticket with this customer, you're going to talk to them over WhatsApp. Maybe in the next ticket with the next customer, you're going to talk to them over Teams. In both cases, you're going to use our product to do it. And it'll be kind of transparent to you as to whether you're using WhatsApp or text or Teams or something else. We're
Mm.
going to be that portal through which you do your communications. And your customer is just going to be happy because they're being talked to in the way that they want to be talked to.
Hmm. Very cool. Now, Chris, it seems to me just through our conversation when you're at Enable, you're at these consulting firms, that your approach is a little bit more scientific than art versus science. But you are a musician, so I wonder where you think that breakdown is.
That's a really good point. I love product management. The notion of finding out what your customers want and figuring out how to solve it, really, really fun. And that's a bit of an art because that's conversation, like you and I are having right here, where we're
Mm.
going back and forth, we're having an honest conversation. You kind of have to know the right questions to ask. You have to know when to be quiet to let people speak their real mind. You have to know how to observe. That's an art,
Hmm.
arguably.
Hmm.
But there is a flip side of the coin in product management that is very much science driven. So things like, well, how do you prioritize 300 feature requests? How do you align the things you want to build with a corporate strategy and revenue numbers that you want to hit?
Mm.
There is definitely, maybe science is a strong word. There's definitely math, though, and
Right.
logic involved in that. And so, one of the things that's actually really appealing to me about product management is I get to combine that artistic social end of it with logic, with business process, with experience in the market, and using that together. It's a fun role, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very I always I struggle with that too, because I have some artistic endeavors, but I'm very process person, so who knows what the correct mix is for anything that you do. So Chris, when I started my MSP back in the 90s, I was working way too hard. I was working 14, 16-hour days and not paying attention to my health, and before you know it, I got up to 340 pounds. And
Ooh.
the doctor said to me, if I don't lose the weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. She was just born. It was, devastated me. I'm driving home swearing and, punching the steering wheel. I did this to myself and I'm going to get myself out. So the next 6, 7 months, lost about 130 pounds, kept it off. And people want a quick answer. Oh, what's the secret? What's the secret? And there's no secret. I just say discipline. That's how I got a routine, I got willpower and, strictness and away I went. I wonder how discipline plays a role in your life, Chris Reid.
Ooh, there's a really good quote that I like, which is slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And,
Hmm.
and I enjoy that because there are things you should do every day. If you take it slow, if you don't get caught up in the hustle and bustle of the things you've got to do, if you take just a minute in the morning, for example, or 5 minutes, and you think slowly, I've got a whole day to myself. I get to do all this wonderful stuff. What are the most important things for me to do today? And that could be some work stuff for sure. That could be some working out, playing guitar, reading a book, whatever the passions are that you want to pursue. But if you take it slow for just a minute, if you realize that it's a great opportunity today to get some really great stuff done, you can pull together that list. And then at the end of the day, you can realize, you know what? I killed it today. I did a great job at work. I was nice to my kids. I didn't yell. I made them a good supper. I feel like I'm a good dad. I got to play a little bit of guitar. I talked to my wife. We had a drink. That was fantastic. And all of a sudden, those days go by really quickly. And consistently, you're doing the things that you want. And it doesn't feel like you're making progress, but over time, as you look at it, like when you're losing weight, for example, it's day by day. It's not month by month. It's day by day or hour by hour. Use your analogy. I like I like that saying, slow is smooth and smooth is fast, because it makes the time go by and then all of a sudden you realize you reached your goals and it didn't take very long at all.
Hmm. It's amazing how pace comes into your life. Your bio, and it was funny, and I didn't know how to introduce this, but it says, Chris enjoys playing guitar badly, biking slowly, and reading quickly. So it's like pace is a big part of your life. It's
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I do like biking. I'm just not very good at it. I have friends who are far faster than I am, and I just can't keep up. Conversely, though, I'm a really fast reader because I read all the time. My wife
huh,
always jokes that I don't read things, I consume them, so they just get done. Yeah,
fascinating. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast.
you got it. I don't know who made that quote up, so I can't attribute it properly, but I do like it a lot. It's a good
Mm.
quote.
Who was called Slowhand, the guitarist? I think that was Clapton. Didn't they call him
Yeah,
Slowhand?
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I could be wrong. He didn't really have a slow hand. Why? Why they called him that? He's not my favorite, by the way. But
Mine either, but maybe it's because you realized a fast hand. Like maybe it was a joke. Hey,
yeah, one of the opposite things, like calling a big guy tiny. I
yeah.
see. I see. So you, so it's fascinating how you attribute discipline to kind of pace and to getting things done. Nice connection there. I've never heard that before.
I find it helpful. I've gone through a bunch of, you go through the usual self help sort of stuff. Go on YouTube,
Yeah.
read some books, listen to podcasts where people are talking to people who are maybe inspiring to you. And I've found that consistency's got to be a thing, but then
Mm.
just go slow. You've got the time. You can figure it out. Just take a minute to set your day up, and you'll be successful. A lot of times, myself anyway, if I just get out of bed and start going, make the kids lunch, get them to school, get into work, it feels stressful, and I don't feel like I have a plan. But if I just, again, those 2 or 3 minutes in the morning, go slow, take a minute to reflect and understand what you want to do. Everything's possible and awesome. It's great.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What motivates you, Chris?
Oh, what motivates me? Um, I I really enjoy when I get to talk to people, and in a professional sense, when I get to talk to people and we're on the same page. They've got this
Mm.
problem. We all understand it. We delivered it quickly, and they're now really happy. To me, that customer satisfaction end of it is the part that drives me at work. I love being able to feel like we've made somebody else's day significantly better.
Mm.
It could be by something simple like just responding to an email quickly. That could be by delivering the next shiny feature that they want, or solving something they didn't realize that they needed solved. But that to me is the carrot that I'm always chasing after. That's the dopamine hit.
It's funny, even the beginning of our conversation after we talked about guitars, you were talking about solving problems and, getting to the root of what the issue is and solving it. And the way
Yes.
you you make the comparison or you associate pace and, you you say slow is smooth, and it's all around problem solving in your life. That's very interesting. You're a logical man.
I am. Yep. And actually my wife got me a little moleskin notebook, and
Yeah.
I keep a task list of everything that I need to do, which is silly, but I find writing it out actually helps. It's part of the process. But yeah, I'm a pretty logical guy for sure.
Yeah, you like process. I'm writing now, Chris. I write everything, and then I scan it in and I convert it, and I look at it. I just find I learn more when I see myself write and I see it, and then I express it. It's just, I don't know. We're all different learners. So, given that motivation, Chris, how do you measure success?
So from a professional perspective, I measure success by, there's a couple things. If I'm talking to my CEO, my COO, of course we have metrics like, are we acquiring the right amount of new customers? What's our revenue like? There's a bunch of things like that. But at its core, what makes product management either succeed or fail, what makes me measure my own success is customer satisfaction. If I am building the right product, solving the right problem for somebody, that's what products do, is they solve problems. If I'm solving the right problem, then my customers are successful, my customer base will grow, my tech support load, for example, will go down, my revenues will go up. But at the core, it's all about making customers happy. If you make them happy, you're going to win.
Yeah, and perhaps one of the greatest things about working with MSPs is that when they're successful, they're making their clients successful, which are small to medium businesses, which is the backbone to the worldwide economy. So
Absolutely.
you're helping,
Yep.
our society or our economy. It's a nice feeling to have that impact.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
Do you think you'll ever stop when you retire? Will you still problem solve?
Yeah, you can't do this for 20 years and then just
Right.
change the foundations of how you operate and how you think. No, I'll still problem solve.
You will, whether it's your kids being hungry, or it's a flat tire, or it's going to the store and getting something. Life is a series of problems that need to be solved.
Question is, which ones do you want to solve first? That's the eternal
Mm,
product management question. Yep.
prioritizing, yeah, yeah.
Prioritizing. Yeah.
And then we get to delegation. What can you do and what you can't do? Very, very
Right.
interesting. Chris Reid, I was excited when we set this up. I love talking to fellow guitarists at any particular level. Who's the greatest guitarist in your mind?
The greatest.
Who do you like listening to the most? How's that?
I'm going to go back to Alice in Chains for a second, mostly because I spent most of my teenage years trying to emulate how to play their
Yeah.
stuff. I like Jerry Cantrell. He is phenomenal when it comes to the subtlety of the notes that he puts in place, his little bends, his little slides. Phenomenal guitarist, underappreciated, I'd say, in terms of, you think of grunge bands as being just loud and sort of power chordy, and he's got
Right.
a lot of really, really good, very difficult and technical, but also just really beautiful and well spaced solos and little guitar pieces that he's done. I think he's fantastic.
Is he still around? I mean, he's still alive. Is he still performing? Is he?
He is, yeah, yeah, he is, yeah.
Alice in Chains he died. Didn't the singer die?
He did, but then they got a new singer who's
Ah,
he's okay, but
as
as a
a
band, they're still around.
oh, I didn't realize they're still touring.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's there's so many good guitarists. My goodness. And even, people send me stuff of, check this guy out. I mean, today just it's I don't know, the equipment's better, you can record better, you can get out there more, and it's just um yeah, the music industry. Do you think you ever record anything, Chris?
no, probably not.
Yeah, I'm not there either.
No, I like just playing.
Yeah.
Playing by myself is fine. Playing with like a friend is pretty cool. I don't know that
Mm,
I'll ever have enough time to necessarily get good enough to record something.
right.
Yeah.
And do you sing when you play?
Yes, but like I said, very badly. So not in front of people. Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. I have no shame, so that's why I say, Chris, thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Anybody listening, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, great question. We'd love to talk with you guys. Anybody who wants to talk to MSP Process, just go to mspprocess.com. Take a look at our live chat. We can chat with you there. If you want to reach out to me directly, my email address is chrisr@mspprocess.com. I would love to chat.
Absolutely. You're on LinkedIn, and Reid is spelled Reid.
You got it.
And Chris, thanks so much for your time. I look forward to seeing you in November at IT Nation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joe. This has been great.
You be well. Cheers.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversation.